Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming from the 1148 studios. This is episode number 85. Joining me at the 1148 studios is
Trace Trylko. Hello, everyone.
All right. So, I guess everybody knows by now we won UCF 24, UConn 16. If you didn't tune in to post-game live with us yesterday, you didn't hear that from us, but now you have.
Yeah, it's breaking news to them. Hey, are you much of a golfer?
I like golf.
What's one of those big terms in golf? Four, as in 4 and 3 now.
Oh, well, yeah.
I was playing off a golf theme right there.
Yeah.
4 and 3. The Knights improved to 4 and 3. 2 and 1? 2 and 1 in the American. 3 and 1 on the road.
And 1 and 2 at home. That's kind of interesting.
Seems odd with 3 straight home games coming up after this next Saturday's tilt at Houston. Houston suddenly no longer world beaters, beaten by the world.
Yeah, beaten by SMU.
SMU, they were.
That's crazy.
Cougars went in number 11th
ranked. As far
ranked,
as I'm concerned, yeah.
11.5-point favorites. They lose 38-16 at SMU.
That's crazy. Was it at SMU or was it at Houston?
I think it was at SMU.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Look at that, at SMU.
Wow, okay. That's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I think that they've obviously got some issues. People have figured out, maybe they saw what Navy did. I don't know. I mean, I didn't look at the stats on that game or anything.
I brought them up so we can.
Did they
talk
run
about it.
like crazy on them?
No, they didn't.
Did they pass like?
No, they had 303 total yards.
Was there a bunch of turnovers?
Well, that I'm not. I'll have to look up that one. But Greg Ward Jr. 20 of 32, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Ground game, leading rusher, 54 yards.
Oh, they didn't run.
So
SMU stopped the run, it sounds like.
Houston,
how many
13 first downs. 13.
How many rushing yards for SMU?
SMU had net 178 to Houston's net 62.
Okay. They ran all over them.
Third down conversions. Houston, 4 of 16.
Huh.
And in the UConn game, UConn was 5 of 17 against UCF.
Well, here's the deal, though. It looks like that SMU ran all over Houston, and Houston couldn't run against them. What were the passing yards for SMU and Houston?
SMU net passing 228, Houston net passing 235.
Huh. And
no interceptions for Ward Jr. Fumbles. 2 fumbles lost by Houston, just 1 for SMU.
So two turnovers for Houston.
Huh. But 38-16, a final, 7-0 after 1 quarter, 28-7 SMU at the half. Houston put up 7 in the 3rd quarter, and SMU then outscored them in the 4th, 10-2.
Well, it sounds to me like you can run on Houston.
Early line, by the way.
And that's what Navy did. Dang good and well that Navy ran on Houston.
Early line on the UCF game, though. Initial line, 12.5. Houston favored by 12.5. It's dropped to 11.5. When we were talking on Knightline post-game live, we thought that it might be in single digits when all was said and done. And you know what? I don't mind going in there an underdog with a little chip on our shoulder, and maybe we have a reeling team.
Well, I can tell you.
In Houston, I mean, reeling
that
in Houston.
You can run on Houston.
But can we run on Houston?
We'll
this is
see.
Back-to-back games where UCF has struggled to run, but I believe one of the callers on the post-game show said, but we've also arguably faced 2 of the better run defenses, not just in the American, but in the country. UConn was in the top 30 against the run. Temple was stout against the run, and UCF has found a different way to win this week, and I think that was on the arm of one Mackenzie Milton.
Well, how about this? I was thinking about this because I was looking at the latest standings on the polls that came out today, and Michigan now is ranked number 2.
That's good for our RPI.
It is, yeah.
Our strength of schedule.
And especially how many yards we ran against them. So that makes us look a little bit better as far as I'm concerned. And I feel much better about that performance. We need a performance like that, but on the winning side against Houston. We need a running performance, a rushing performance like that, 200 and something yards or whatever rushing. So,
but going into this game and looking at the way, tough loss the Temple game before that. UCF did improve in some areas, no turnovers, right? No sacks given up, and they cut the penalties from 12 to 5. So they limited their mistakes in what for UCF was still a road game in cold, windy, rainy conditions in Connecticut. Always tough to get a road win in conference play, and UCF found a way to do it. So you got to give him props for that.
And Mackenzie Milton had a career day. I mean, his career, like I said yesterday, is not that
just
long.
Just a couple of games.
But 317 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He's the first UCF quarterback to throw for over 300 yards since Justin Holman did. Had 336 against Temple 2 years ago. 11 for 13 in the third quarter with 115 yards and a touchdown, and completed passes to 10 different receivers, including one to himself.
He didn't get any yards
on a pass
on that,
batted
though.
back to him. No, I don't know about that. Yeah, it was for a -1 or something like that. But, we have a clip to play a little bit later from Milton, and he talks about that. He talks about a few things. It's a long clip. We might as well play it here. It's a minute and 25 seconds long, but it's a cool clip. I left one question in. I normally take the questions out.
What might that be about?
But I left one question in because I liked the question, and not that I don't like the questions normally, but this one, it needed to set up what he said. So let's hear from Mackenzie Milton on the game yesterday.
Anytime you can get momentum going into halftime is big. I'd say the last 4 minutes of the half and the last 4 minutes of the actual game is probably the biggest part of the game, and we came out big in both parts. So I forget what play we had, but I broke the pocket. Saw my tight end. He leaked open, but I just threw the ball kind of low. It hit the guy in the face, and the ball just kind of ended up in my lap. So I just did what I could. I was kind of surprised. Heck of a catch, man. I mean, in all honesty, I was trying to burn the ball, but Don he's a senior and he's aware of situations, and he made a big play for us, and we ended up scoring that drive, and it was huge. Yeah, I mean, Coach Frost just told us we got to man up, and I feel like you have to be a man to play football, and that's what we did today. I mean, our defense came up big for us. We picked them up early. Our defense picked us up late, and that's just a great team win. Matt Wright made a 50-yard field goal. Yeah, we knew that UConn was pretty stout up front, and we knew we had to throw the ball to keep their outside backers loose. And our wide receivers did a great job getting yards after catch. Our O-line did a great job protecting. And this is a good win.
Why didn't you guys take the trophy? It was sitting there on the bench, and you guys left it there on the field.
It was just another ball game for us. And next week will be another ball game for us, and the week after that. So we just want to take it 1 week at a time, and we can't get too caught up in that.
All right, so just another ball game, not going to get caught up in that kind of stuff with this trophy.
Not taking UConn head coach Bob Diaco's trophy back.
I wonder, I never looked to see what he had to say about that. I wonder if...
He just described the loss as sickening, was I think one of his direct
I wonder if he said anything about the trophy. Like, you guys didn't give them that trophy?
And whether fans listening know it or not, that trophy was trotted out. This is the one that Diaco conceived, civil conflict, brought it to Orlando last year. UConn wins. They paraded around like they won the American championship. Takes it back to UConn, trots it back out for this game, homecoming in Storrs, Connecticut. It's on the sideline. UCF wins the game, and nobody knows what to do with the trophy, and UCF has no interest in taking that back.
They covered it up with a towel
because it was raining.
Yeah. I think they wanted to make sure nobody saw that.
But I think there was a little
there.
Embarrassment. I think those were
that's
tears falling, not just rain.
Yeah. When we were talking originally, when this whole thing came out, we both thought that it was a little ridiculous. I think everybody thought that it was a little ridiculous. Like, you make a trophy. You come up with a rivalry that doesn't exist, and so it's like fabrication. The whole thing was fabricated. The whole thing was a big a big lie, a big I mean, the guy must be a little psycho to do something like that.
If both schools had agreed upon it, and then it was something they were playing for,
that would
just
be
as colleges do across the country,
that would be a completely different thing,
right? The Little Brown Jug and other famous battles for trophies that go on between rivals. If UCF had agreed to it, I would understand. I saw some comments on the message board, some other postings, because this story went viral a little bit, and that there were a lot of news articles on NBC Sports and Yahoo and all of that. And reading through the comments, some people said, well, it's just disrespectful on UCF's part. And I thought, why? We never agreed to this rival.
It's disrespectful to make a rivalry up that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's what George O'Leary at the time thought about it as well. I mean, it's disrespectful.
I mean, if he wants to fire up his own players and slap stickers on their helmets, good for him. But, yeah. The most important thing, forget the trophy, is that UCF got a road win in conference play.
Yeah.
And stays in the thick of the East race. East race getting shaken up a little bit in that Temple rolled all over the Cows Friday night. And now Temple, in successive weeks, in 6 days, came to Orlando, beat UCF, went back home, beat the Cows. And they're 3-1 in conference play. South Florida experiences its first loss, but now both UCF and South Florida lose a potential, if it were to go that way, tiebreaker. A lot of games yet, 5 games left. A lot of things can happen. Navy comes to Tampa on Friday.
And there is one more ranked team
in Navy, right?
Navy's
what are they up to?
Number 22.
22. And as you mentioned with Houston, they like to run the ball. And imagine that they're going to want to run the ball on South Florida. They gave up a lot of running yards to Temple. So we may look back on the Temple game, a game we should have won. We may look back on that and say, you know what, Temple is a pretty good team. And I think we said it last week as well, that they had a pretty good front seven. And
they were the East champions last year. I mean, they were.
Did you watch any of the game? The Temple game Friday?
I watched a bit of it, but I didn't listen to commentary or anything.
They were talking about how they're hoping to become bowl eligible back-to-back years for the first time ever, and they've been playing since the 1880s.
Oh, wow.
They've never had back-to-back bowl years.
They've been an interesting team over the years. They were kicked out of the Big East and then brought back into the American, which was interesting.
And now they're starting to show themselves in football.
Yeah.
Decent crowd there. And
good basketball school.
To me, it was the greatest weekend. When South Florida loses and UCF wins, that's a good weekend right there.
Absolutely.
That's a good weekend.
I have some clips from head coach Scott Frost on the win at UConn, and I'm going to play a couple of them here. The first one will be his opening statement, and then there's going to be one on Milton, and then there will be one on Matthew Wright, and then there will also be one on the Griffins.
We played a whale of a football team. I think UConn is a really talented team. Our players have been through a lot in the last week after the way the last game ended, and I can't say enough about their character to rebound and fight another close game and find a way to win it. So we'll have a happy playing going back to Orlando. Well, McKenzie's a special kid, aside from being a good football player, and to be able to handle all the stuff he's handled at his early development as a college quarterback is amazing. I think he keeps having better games than his prior games. So look forward to him continuing to improve, and really that's the case for our entire young offense. I think every week we're getting a little better. We got a lot of confidence in Matt. We know he's going to make the majority of them, and it was great to see him kind of redeem himself with a big long kick right there. We knew we had the wind going that way, and we trusted his range out to 50 plus, but it's still a tough kick to make, especially in those conditions, so I'm really happy for him. Shaquem and Shaquille are the backbone of this team. Their effort, their excitement to play the game of football, it's contagious, and it helps a lot of us be better.
Yeah, speaking of Shaquem and Shaquille, but Shaquem especially, ESPN did a great little clip about his I don't want to call it a disability, his difference between him and the rest of the college football players that I know.
Seemingly an advantage based on the way he plays the game.
Absolutely, yeah. So
it just adds to his ferocity
on
the field.
Definitely not a disability. Definitely something that he has overcome big time. They did a nice, thing on a little video clip on game day about him.
And it aired at an odd time early in the morning, an hour and a half before UCF's game, but UCF has posted it on UCFathletics.com, and it's all over social media. You owe it to yourself to take 4 minutes out and learn about this family and this young man and his perseverance to overcome some challenges in his life and to excel. Didn't we say during postgame live on Saturday that he was he first or second in tackles during the game on
he was
Saturday with
first
10, right?
with a career high 10 tackles.
Yeah.
So after that, so
you owe it to yourself to take 4 minutes out of your day,
absolutely,
and watch this story. And what's good about a story like this is when you learn something. And I learned a few things that I just didn't know in that storyline.
Yeah. And his family, I mean, I personally know all of them, a lot of them, and there are tons of them. They have a very large family and a very close family, cousins, and, everybody gets together at the tailgates are crazy. Just a really good time, and we tailgate. My girlfriend, fiance, wife, I call her all those things. And
I have heard you refer to her with each of those things,
yes,
and her first name sometimes.
Yeah, we tailgate with them the majority of the time, and they're just wonderful people. So to have ESPN do that, and for him to have a great game, and I just think that this story has needed to be told a little bit about how it happened, what it is, how he's gone through life with it and everything. And it's absolutely awesome. So
he's a motivating young man, and you hope that the takeaway for that, for not only UCF fans, but football fans watching that and others that have to overcome physical limitations.
That's a good word for it.
Is that determination. He has not let life beat him and has turned it into just such a productive college football experience now.
And you never know. I mean, he could be the first person in the pros to, he's pro-worthy this year already. So he could easily go on and do special things there, too, because you would not ever know unless you looked at him and saw, that he has one less hand than everybody else out there. You would never know it.
No, you wouldn't think about it.
I love the story. I love the story. I normally don't love stuff like that, but that's freaking awesome. And
well said.
That's really all I can say about it.
You owe it to yourself to watch it. It's a good feature.
Absolutely. Anyway, so besides that, let's hear what he had to say about that.
Good segue right there.
Thank you. And so he was talking here in the press conference. They let him talk the other day, and let's just hear it from his mouth.
Just excited, just to come out here and get a win with the team and stuff, and then knowing that the story come out, it just makes your day even better, and then just to go home and celebrate with my family and celebrate with the team, it's just going to be even better. After I got back and see my phone was pretty much frozen. How many messages came through, so I'm pretty excited to see how everything went and see how the video came out, so I'm pretty excited on that, ready to get back to my phone.
Awesome. So I'm sure that his phone was blowing up because, I had texted his mom and everything. So, and I don't know if I sent anything to them or not, but on Facebook I did do that. So it's just awesome. And on his mom's Facebook page, there was nothing but that video. Like everybody was sending it to her. Not like she hadn't seen it, but it was just like everybody was commenting on it, and there was probably 40 different versions of it that people had sent. Even people recording it off the TV with their cell phones, So it was awesome. Anyway, all right, let's hear also from Snelson real quick. He had a good game.
He stepped up, and he had to step up because of the announced prior to the game that Tristan Payton was going to be suspended for that game and not playing, and he made the best of that opportunity for him and for the team.
And I had heard, and we had talked about it a little bit, that he had some issues and had said some things on Twitter at one point as well. Snelson. He was a highly touted wide receiver. He was the 4-star that we got during that class, this class. And he, at one point did, make some, comments and stuff like that. So to hear the humbleness in this interview is good. I like it.
I was trying to prove that I could come in and play as a true freshman. They gave me the opportunity, and I took advantage of it. It was my first college touchdown, but they told me don't get big-headed, just keep playing. And I tried to pull a hat trick today if I got the ball again, but I didn't score.
All right, so that was Dredrick Snelson. That was a good, nice game by him, and that's awesome to have even more people Earl Clark also had a good game, especially there in the second half. He recorded his 3rd sack of the season early in the 3rd quarter. A few other people. Chester Brown had his first start against UConn, which is good, offensive lineman. Jordan Akins had a great game. Taylor Oldham had a great game. And Adrian Killens caught a 39-yard touchdown pass from Milton early in the 3rd quarter for his 2nd of the season to make back-to-back games with a touchdown, which is cool. And, of course, did we talk a little bit, Frost talked earlier about Matthew Wright. 50-yard field goal early in the 4th quarter, which we were all kind of holding our breaths because that is not... We haven't seen him make long ones like that a lot.
And he had missed earlier in that game a 31-yard field goal.
Right. It was facing the other direction with the wind in his face. And then this one, the 50-yard field goal with the wind at his back. The last time a UCF player made a field goal of 50 or more yards was Sean Moffitt against UConn, interestingly enough. And on October 26, 2013... Also, though, kind of lost in all this, Matthew Wright extended his career long of made extra points, making all 3 attempts to improve to 41 for 41 in his career.
Not bad.
He has never missed an extra point.
All right, not bad.
That's awesome.
Back on Dredrick Snelson and what had happened earlier in the year on social media with a little bit of frustration on his part with playing time, I think it's important that we remember they're just college kids, right?
Absolutely.
And they're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And haven't we all said something on social media that we wish we had back?
Never. I've never done that.
You, of course, the exception to that.
I've never done that here or on social media.
Which reminds me with this, and we don't know everything that went on with regards to the suspension of Tristan Payton for the game, but 7 games into the season, the Scott Frost administration, we haven't heard about discipline problems and the like. And,
it's true.
And... that we hear about, right? And that was a hallmark for many years of the George O'Leary era.
People were missing stuff all the time. People were missing all the time. I wonder, why isn't he out there? You know, I mean,
well, but there weren't a lot of discipline problems, especially compared to other programs. South Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
So
there were some, but I guess every team has some.
You have that many.
Discipline
You have that many players on a team. You're going to have some issues.
But this far in the season to hear about the first one
is where I'm going with that. And I just, good for Dredrick that he stepped up, and hopefully it was a learning experience for him to take a little flack and a little heat, and hopefully he puts it behind him, matures a bit from it, and contributes to the team, making the team the bigger focal point of his collegiate experience.
Absolutely. And I think he had said some things on Twitter, because I follow Peyton on Twitter as well, and he has said some things since then that I think he's getting the point, you know. So that's good, and he's being humbled, and I think humbled is good.
Let's talk about one of the other losses in this game. Yes,
I got one more note here that I want to talk about.
Yes.
One more note. With the win, the Knights have tied the all-time series against the Huskies 2-2. But that's not really the news. UCF came back from 13-0 deficit to win, making the first time since October 9th, 2014 the Knights came back after trailing that much. UCF trailed BYU by 24-10 in that game. And we came back to win that game, of course. And UCF put together their longest scoring drive of the season. I like this one. That 93-yard midway through the second quarter was the longest drive of the season, and that is good. All of this is good.
Yes.
You know,
it's so much better to talk about victories. Where I was going was that in addition
Sorry
to
to
the
interrupt you.
No, it's not big. In addition to the Peyton thing was announced that it looks like Tyler Hdanek is going to be out for the season, and I've really felt that a big turning point in the Temple game was the way the line then struggled after Tyler went out of the game. So props to the offensive line. McKenzie had to improvise, and he's rolling out and he's moving around.
He had all the time in the world.
But he had time
this
too,
week.
And I think props to them. And a little bit of a blow going into the game is that it was announced that Jemias Pittman was going to be
and he was on the sideline on crutches, I saw.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully.
And then it looked really difficult when
man.
Tristan Hill went down,
Yeah.
but came back in. And injuries are such an important factor in the course of a season. One other thing, if you've noticed now, 7 games, 4-3 overall. All of these games have different people emerging, don't they?
They do.
We had games where the running game was the dominant factor. This week, they found a way with Mackenzie Milton, the career high in yardage. And how about the assist of the wind on the one play that he was throwing the ball away, and it blows back in for a catch. And just different people have stepped
Wilson
up.
made an incredible catch on that ball.
It seems like every week, while there are certain players like the Griffins that we talk about week after week, there are other players. Mark Rucker, we mentioned him one week, has a big game. T.J. Mutcherson has a big game. This week we're talking about Dredrick Snelson having a big game and stepping up. So different people.
And Earl Clark,
Earl Clark.
having the big game.
Certainly.
I mean, it's cool. Okay, here's the deal. This is when you were saying that, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking that this team is multi-dimensional, number one, which is good. We've seen that we can score on all 3 phases, which is really good. And then you see that the passing game can be big, like you were saying. You see that the running game can be big, and the defense, and special teams, obviously. So I think being multi-dimensional like that is extremely a good thing, because we hadn't seen that, especially not last year. We didn't see, any dimension.
Do we feel like we've seen a complete game? I mean, the FIU victory was that sort of complete game where you saw everything come together, right? I mean, when you say that was a complete... We haven't necessarily seen it in conference play yet, where we've seen all 3 phases of the game and all these different dimensions come together. Because in the East Carolina game, remember that? Special teams and defense came up big, where we struggled with McKenzie out and Justin in at quarterback. We did just enough. I mean, 47 points, so I don't want to dismiss a victory on the road against East Carolina.
Yeah.
But we were not, the passing game was not lighting things up, and the offense was not as strong. Wondering what we can do against Houston, whether we're going to see a game where we see the passing game clicking, the running game rolling, and if not, we've got these 3 games coming up in back-to-back weeks in November, because the bye week, dashed by Hurricane Matthew, moves the Tulane game to November 5th. And after Houston, UCF doesn't leave the state. 3 straight home games, and then the game in Tampa on Thanksgiving weekend. Some home cooking, but hopefully they turn the Bright House into the dungeon it needs to be, because they're just 1-2 at home so far.
Yeah, that's obviously got to come together. I mean, we're
both games they should have won.
2 games away, by the way. We're 2 wins away from a bowl. 2 for being bowl eligible, anyway. 2 games. Can you imagine, at this point last year, say?
We lost bowl eligibility in week 7 last year.
Right. But to be at this point this year and be 2 games away from being bowl eligible, or 2 wins away, I keep saying games. Even when we started this year, talking about football, we were like, 4 wins, 3 wins,
5.
Whatever. And, the bowl keeps being brought up, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second, I really think that it is attainable. It definitely is attainable. There are 2 wins in these last 5 games.
At least 2.
At least, yeah.
At least
so
2.
I think we're going bowling, and that will be absolutely awesome from
0.
where we came from last year.
From 0 wins.
It's already awesome, and it's an exciting season, even though it's dramatic. Football is dramatic, though. That's one of the best things about football. It is dramatic. Not as dramatic as last year. We don't want that kind of drama.
We don't need that drama.
But, winning and, losing games, so close, and having new players come into the fold, and, seeing the struggles of a freshman quarterback. All this is drama, and it's great. I love it.
Well, you point to something right in that statement about drama. That was a very heartbreaking loss to Temple on homecoming at Bright House.
Absolutely. And
they regroup.
The Maryland one was heartbreaking as well.
But they regroup in the next week, and they go on the road in adverse weather conditions, and they get the win. That's growth for a team.
I don't want to look too far ahead, but think how this team can be next year. Yes, we're going to lose some players. We're going to lose some defensive players especially, and some offensive players, obviously. But think in what the first year that Frost has been here and what he has done with this team. Think about the next year. You know what I'm saying?
Well, think about who
and
he was
how
able
great.
to recruit off of an 0-12 team.
Yeah. And look
Right?
at the recruits that he's already got, at least, verbal.
You don't think they're going to show these highlights of these speedy guys on the field and this offense when it's clicking and recruit players that want to play in this?
I
And
think
are
we
having
have
fun?
3 quarterbacks in this next class.
A highly touted one from the state of
There's a
Virginia
couple.
was
Yeah.
announced just this past week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the off season is going to be interesting, and I cannot wait till next year already. I hate the off season of football. It kills me. It's like,
Don't get there just yet.
I know,
Don't
but
get there just yet.
I'm already dreading it because I know it's coming. The season has just blown by. So I'm bummed.
But you know what you'll be able to do in the off season?
What?
You'll be able to go on this eco tour. This East
That's
Coast Paddle
true. That's
tour.
true.
Because we've been talking about this, and thanks to all of the folks that have been signing up at UCFNightlinePodcast.com.
And there's a bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Your
and
odds,
there
by
needs
the
to
way,
be a bunch more.
Your odds, by the way, are getting lesser and lesser each week when more people sign up. But someone will win.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't sign
No,
up.
you
You
go right
definitely
now.
should, because if you don't sign up, you can't win.
This is true.
So let's hear from Tim here. He's going to talk a little bit. Tim is a UCF alumni and owns this East Coast Paddle in New Smyrna, and so let's hear from him real quick.
Hello, Knight Nation. This is Tim Baker with East Coast Paddle, owner, operator, and fellow UCF alum. East Coast Paddle is located in Orlando's favorite beach town of New Smyrna Beach. East Coast Paddle is rated by TripAdvisor as the #1 rated water tour activity in New Smyrna. We are most known for our boat-assisted paddleboard eco tours. This is a 2-hour dock-to-dock experience like none other on the island. You'll paddle with manatees, dolphins, and have a chance to see many of the 4,000 species that inhabit our lagoon system. So take professional pictures throughout the tour that are sent directly to your email at no additional charge. This is not all we have to offer. Traditional paddleboard rentals delivered to your location, paddle fit classes, and several fishing options. Please reach out to us at 386-402-8585 or visit us at our website, eastcoastpaddle.com, or follow us on Facebook at East Coast Paddle or Instagram at ECPSUP.
All right, so just a reminder, we are going to be live again on Postgame Live, Knightline Postgame Live, after next week's road game at Houston.
That's a noon start.
A noon start, so we will be on approximately 3:30. When the clock expires, we go live. So please join us. It's a really cool show that we're doing. I immensely enjoy it.
There's a lot that goes on in this.
You're
watching Twitter. You're taking the calls. People are messaging on the message board. They're messaging on Rabble.tv. You know what was good to have this week, though? Dun, da, da, da.
We had Jason.
We had Jason the intern.
Jason the intern, who will be back with me on Saturday, and it'll be a little bit odd because you will not be here.
I will not
Saturday.
be in studio. I will be out visiting family in the Denver area. I'm going to do my best. That's a 10 o'clock start, and I'm out to see the niece and the nephews, and they have soccer. I will follow the game as best I can, and we'll try and call in if it allows. I'll message in if I can call in, and we can banter a little bit before you take calls. But we were able to get Jason the intern, and it cost us what cost you? Burgers, fries.
And,
if you feed him, he will come.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
So he's a freshman at UCF in the journalism, broadcasting
He does
area.
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and he
shoots
does
photos,
a bunch of stuff. So
yeah.
He's a good kid, and he's going to help us out, especially during those live shows. I wasn't going to ask him to come over here again tonight, all the way in the Sanford area where we do this, instead of, I didn't want to ask him to drive because I'm sure he doesn't have. If he's a college student like college students that I know, I didn't have gas money then, so I didn't want him to spend a bunch of gas money.
But he was looking up statistics for us, and
he did a great job.
He jumped in,
and since you won't be there, he on Saturday he will be.
He won't
with
have to sit
me here.
behind you.
No, he'll be with me here. You'll hear him a little bit more, and he will help me tremendously during that. Though I don't mind doing the. I like it when you're here for the call-in thing, but I've done more of them by myself, and I enjoy it. I like it a lot better. I mean, I can't sit here and do a podcast by myself because I'm not talking to anybody. I'm recording and I'm talking into a machine. When I'm doing it live, I'm talking to live people that are actually listening at the time, and it's totally different. And then people call me on the phone, and anyway.
There's a different energy to it, that's for sure.
It is awesome, though, and you got to check it out. The phone number for that, 407-401-9184, 407-401-9184. By the way, you can leave us a message on that line if you want to. Give us a comment or something you want us to talk about. We used to feature people's questions we have a couple times. Please feel free to do that. I leave that phone alone when we're not doing the live shows, and I will get your messages. It is sitting here on my desk, and I can see a bright light flashing when somebody leaves a message.
Blink.
So please do that. That would be awesome.
Well,
I'd love to be able to talk about some people's questions and comments.
There you go. Digging into the American a little bit more, we talked earlier about the Cows thrashed by Temple. 46-30 the final there. SMU with the upset over then number 11 Houston. Houston out of the polls. Cincinnati beat East Carolina 31-19. Tulsa pounded Tulane 50-27. We have Tulsa and Tulane coming up in the home month schedule of November. And number 24 Navy, they're up to 22, right? is that it? They're up to 22?
22,
Navy.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
They beat Memphis 42-28, and that's a good Memphis team. In the East, Cows 3-1, Temple 3-1, but Temple now holds that tiebreaker advantage. UCF 2-1. And then you're also, Rand's probably not going to factor into this much. Cincinnati 1-3, UConn 1-4, East Carolina 0-3. And out west, Navy in the driver's seat, but they have the tough game. They got to come to Tampa. They're 4-0. Memphis 2-1. Tulsa 2-1. How about this? Houston 3-2. SMU 1-2. And Tulane brings up the rear in the West at 0-3. But there are two American teams now bowl eligible. South Florida is 6-2, and Houston is 6-2. So
interesting how that works, isn't it?
One of the things I think we talked about on Saturday after the game was that the conference has gotten better. And
Absolutely.
I know we're going to talk about the nonsense with the Big 12 coming up and be done with all of that conversation maybe for a while. But the league has gotten better. These
Absolutely.
are competitive games.
Absolutely. And we talked a little bit about how Mike Oresco wants to take this whole thing and make it the Power Six and have the American into that. But let's take a little bit of a break, and you guys can hear a little commercial real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about that. Coast to coast.
And even north of the border in Canada.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Tell your friends about Knightline Postgame Live. It's the only place to talk about UCF's latest road game as soon as the game ends.
We're taking your calls live, so save our number, 407-401-9184. That's 407-401-9184.
Join the conversation with Knights fans across the country. Download the Rabble.tv app today and listen in. Remember, when the clock expires, we go live.
Knightline Postgame Live, your place to talk about football with two of the biggest UCF fans around.
Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now, back to Knightline with Andrew and Trace.
Ooh, I like that. She has such a good voice.
She does. I love her voice. That's Tracy, our voiceover friend. And, so you'll hear her on a lot of different things now on the phone stuff on Knightline Postgame Live and the phone prompts that she's doing those as well. And if you wait quite a while on our call queue, it's an automated system and it takes calls as I get them. So you have to wait a little bit, but you'll hear some music and you'll hear Tracy a couple times. And if you wait long enough, which I hate to make people wait, but you'll hear some funny stuff in there too. So
were those she ad-libbed those?
She did.
Yeah.
She ad-libbed.
She ad-libbed.
So.
Before we get to this Big 12 soap opera nonsense and wrap it up and put a bow on it, looking ahead at your Knightline planner, men's golf at the Florida Gulf Coast Invitational in Estero, October 24 and 25. Men's soccer heads to Miami, October 25th, match with FIU. Volleyball is back at the venue. They've got a tough one, October 27th at 7 o'clock against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, the Bearcats, amongst the tops in volleyball in the American. Fall ball continues for softball. Every week they're playing a school I've never heard of. College of Central Florida plays the Knights October 27th at the UCF softball complex.
There's a College of Central Florida?
College of Central Florida. Then I've heard of this one. It's right up the street. October 28th, Seminole State College at 10 a.m. Women's soccer off to Tulsa, October 28th. Women's golf at the Land Fall Invitational, Wilmington, North Carolina, 28th, 29th, 30th. Cross country in Cincinnati for the American Championships on October 29th. Volleyball back home, East Carolina, October 29th, 1 o'clock at the venue. Men's soccer at Temple, October 29th. Rowing. We haven't mentioned rowing in a while. They are at the Princeton Chase in New Jersey, October 30th. And women's soccer closes out the week, October 30th at Memphis. That's your Knightline planner.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Hey, did we get into the Big 12?
As the world turns.
This show has been canceled.
We did not.
That show has been canceled.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the last time we'll ever have to play that.
Has there been a bigger bunch of nonsense? And I know you've hated it every single week. It's so funny. We knew how this was going to turn out every week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right? But that they put these schools, initially a list of 19, through this useless, expensive dog and pony show.
That's what I was going to say.
Traveling there, having to put on their presentations. These 19 schools need to remember that when the Big 12-2 needs a vote for something that they want.
Well, I think that they honestly should pay all those schools back the money that they spent in that whole endeavor. You mentioned travel and presentations, and I'm sure that there were some people that at these schools that did a little bit of payment to people to do a little bit of research and talk them up and all that stuff. So it's unfortunate, and
it's a foolhardy move on the part of this conference that they're
here's
just
the
don't
thing,
make good
though.
decisions.
Here's the thing, and this might be a little controversial to some.
Oh, you're going to say something controversial?
Shocking.
This is shocking.
I'm glad it didn't happen for two reasons. Number one, it's a sinking ship over there at the Big 12, I believe.
All right.
Number two, I can't remember the reason. Number one, it's a sinking ship. And I don't think that number two has something to do with number one. Because it's a sinking ship, we could be left homeless after a while. If it sinks, just picture the scenario. We go to the Big 12. We make a couple more $1 million a year.
Because they would never cut us in off the top.
Absolutely
for a
not.
lot of money.
A couple million more.
Right.
Not that much.
Right.
Then Oklahoma, Texas, and who knows who else, but those are the big ones, decide to go after 2025. They go. What happens then? What really happens to the Big 12 when those two big schools go away?
Yeah.
No.
Do you want to talk about this every week until 2025?
No.
Do you think we'll still be doing this in 2025?
Probably so. I don't know. Maybe not.
How will we be doing it?
Hopefully not.
Well, you think about how much has changed in a year or two. What will we be doing in 2025?
Yeah.
But here's the one thing, right? But we would have said yes. We would have jumped in.
I guess. I mean, yes, of course. But... Of course.
And then
people will make the argument, oh, well, it's going to be so much more money. It's so much more money. It's not. It wouldn't have been that much more
initially.
money. Yeah. And then I'm telling you, mark my words right here, on October 23rd.
Write it down.
Of 2016, I'm telling you right now, I'm not some wizard, mind reader, psychic guy, but I'm telling you the Big 12 will implode at some point. It will.
I guess that goes back, though, to where does UCF land? And in the current landscape, in that October 23, 2016 landscape, the Gators are not saying yes to UCF in the SEC. And Florida State and Miami are not saying yes to UCF in the ACC.
You never know.
I know you never know.
We didn't ever think that that USF over there would say that we could join the Big East either, which became the American.
Yeah. Yeah, not the same thing.
It's not, but...
Not the same thing. Where do we land, though? And maybe the best hope out of this is that the strength of the American, not only in football, but across all these sports, continues to improve on much less a budget than those Power 5 schools, and that the networks get involved and want to prop up a league like the American so that you maybe have that Power 6. That's, I think, our best hope.
Or what if the
in the shorter
American
term.
and, I mean, this is crazy. This is pretty crazy. But what if the American and, like, the Mountain West were to form some kind of something? I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Because I'm telling you, at some point in the future, probably after 2025, when I think a lot of these rights of
TV rights. And all
TV rights refusal or whatever. I can't remember what
grant
it's called.
of
Grant of
something.
rights.
Yeah, grant of rights.
When all these things start to go away is when this happens again. The whole thing will happen again with all the conferences when their, grant of rights run out or whatever. And everybody, there's been a couple people that have said over the years there's going to be 4, conferences of 16 or something like that. Who knows? But there's more teams to go around. There, I don't know. There's a MAC team in the top 25 right now.
Western?
Can you imagine?
Western Michigan?
Yes. I mean,
so
there's
athletic director
good
Danny
teams
White
out
has
there.
said that he wants to build this into a consistent top 25 athletic program, football program, and he has said, and as you have seen with the moves that he's made with various coaches and what will be coming upon the year or so that he's been athletic director, is that he wants to graduate student athletes and he wants to contend for conference championships. And he's made several moves to put us in the direction. There have been some dollars that have flowed in from some donors that were sitting on their wallets under previous athletic directors and coaches. And, you saw with the big move in baseball, a donor stepping forward to give more money to the program. All UCF can control is what it does in its own buildings and its own fields of play and become the strongest athletic program it can. Those with a longer view that have been here for a while, back to when I was a student, to think where we were in the early 90s to where we are now, longtime fans know the leaps that this program has made in a relatively short period of time. And just as we're saying, what's the landscape going to be in 2025? It's going to be a lot better for UCF as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think that we have a good home now. I think the American, we need to dominate the American in every sport that we possibly can.
Agreed.
And that's what Danny White says. We need to dominate. And that's what we need to do. We need to quit worrying about where we're going and worry about where we are. Period.
End the show right now. That's it. You're very profound the later into the evening that we record these things.
Well, I've been trying to think a little bit more before I speak. So,
we need dial-in music for that. We need some.
This is me thinking before I speak.
We need some dial-in music for that.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, let's talk about how some of those programs are doing with the news and notes segment.
Let's do it. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. Number 45 ranked men's golf finished 10th at the Tavistock Collegiate Invitational held at Orlando's Islesworth Golf and Country Club.
Volleyball, Andrew, swept at home Sunday. They fell 3-0 to league leader SMU. On Friday, UCF swept Tulsa. Knights are 7-3 in the American, 17-6 overall.
Women's tennis comes up short at the ITA Regionals in Gainesville.
Women's soccer, thrilling 3-2 double overtime win over East Carolina at home Sunday. That followed the 2-0 loss to Cincinnati Thursday. Knights 3-3-1 in the American, 8-7-1 overall.
Men's tennis also out of the ITA Southeast Regional Championships in Tallahassee.
Men's soccer, 2-1 overtime win over UCONN Saturday night. That made up for the 2-1 setback at Stetson earlier in the week. Knights now 2-3 in the American, 4-8 overall.
Fall ball continues for softball. The Knights shut out Eastern Florida State 14-0. How many of these directional schools are there?
We used to think we were the directionals. Also coming up this week, men's and women's basketball media days for the American in Philadelphia. So maybe we'll hear from the new head coaches participating in Media Day.
Very possible. All right, that's going to do it for episode number 85 of the UCF Knightline podcast. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. BSC